my beautiful ducks? It's your friendly Gruppeteer, and I'm back again with another, Steven Universe vlog. And today we're going to do something a little bit differently because there were about 5 or so episodes into this giant Steven bomb, which happened just, honestly, about 3 weeks ago now. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm going to review them all at once. I think this is like the Ruby and Sapphire wedding arc or whatever. That's what we're gonna call. That's what we're gonna call this video. This arc or whatever. So this is gonna be all the episodes. This is gonna be now we're only falling apart. What's your problem? The question, maid of honor, and reunited. So we're gonna review all those in just one massive vlog, so you don't have to watch 50 different ones. So these episodes are in connection with what was happening last time, the Single Pale Rose episode, which happened about 3 months ago, and that was the reveal that something's in my throat today. That was the reveal that Pink Diamond is actually Rose Quartz. Rose Quartz, rather, is Pink Diamond because Pink Diamond would shapeshift and become Rose Quartz, so she could. Well, we don't know why at the beginning, but we find out in these episodes. And when the Crystal Gems find this out, they're shocked, so shocked that Garnet comes undone for the first time, I think, since the Sardonyx episodes, as far as I can remember. And Sapphire runs off. She's super upset. So Pearl and Steven go to comfort her, and Pearl tells Sapphire that the reason that Pink Diamond ever wanted to turn into a quartz in the first place is so that she could go down and explore Earth without being, idolized or being hailed, but rather she could just blend in and fit in with everybody else. And it seems to work. It seems, that she just, enjoys lollygagging, walking around, seeing all this fun stuff on Earth, but is only really inspired to want to save Earth or want to fight against the destruction that is to come when she meets Garnet. The Garnet that we see in The Answer so many episodes ago. And in telling Sapphire that, Sapphire realizes that she's not with Ruby for a lie that Rose told her, but rather she's with Ruby because she loves Ruby. It's kind of difficult to understand completely why Sapphire's upset, and maybe that's just because I'm a teenage boy who doesn't understand women's emotions. But it seems like Sapphire's upset because she got lied to by Rose Quartz about being accepted to be Garnet, or that's what I got from it. If I'm getting this wrong, please tell me. I'm not trying to misunderstand it for any reason. But I thought that was what was going on. Yeah, no, maybe I'm in the right here, maybe I'm in the wrong. But Sapphire seems, feel a little bit better, understand her purpose a bit more when she hears that the reason that Rose was inspired was because she saw Garnet. And so when they go back to the temple, to, talk to Ruby, turns out she isn't there. Ruby's left. And that's the first episode, the Now We're Only Falling Apart one. Oh my! I have Ebola. The general sort of vibe I got from this episode was a very nice sort of just sweet episode. It definitely was very plot heavy and very cornerstone to a lot of the stories and conflict that are going to occur throughout the rest of the special. But I just liked it. I thought it was very nice. I thought it was very calming. However, I wouldn't say that it was as sort of necessary or enjoyable as the next episode we're going to get into, What's Your Problem? This is when, Amethyst and Steven take it upon themselves to go out and try to find Ruby while Pearl and Sapphire stay at home. And in the process of doing that, Amethyst keeps joking around and Steven's trying to tell her to chill a little bit. And there eventually becomes this climactic scene where they're in the pizza shop, the fish stew pizza, and they're having a conversation about just all the heavy stuff that's been put on them in the last... I don't really know the time frame of when all these episodes are happening. Let's say week. Everything that's happened in the last week or so. And it's it's just an outstanding just scene when it's just Steven and Amethyst sitting down and just talking at the pizza place. In any other show, I don't hold Steven Universe on a pedestal on a pedestal over other shows just because I review it on this page. If anything, I'm probably a lot more critical and harsh and bitter towards it half the time. But I really do feel that any other show might take this instance of, two characters chill, the calm right after this storm, and would spend the entire time saying these just, these, what do you want to call it, cliched, or maybe even exposition-filled just sentences, or these ominous, these ominous non sequiturs or something like that, are supposed to be, deep and make you reflect on something like that. But in any other show, I would expect that, and I wouldn't be like, this isn't realistic at all. I kind of accept it because that's kind of how TV works. If TV worked in the same way that I sit here and talk to you on a vlog, that wouldn't be very interesting at all. I don't know if it is right now. But what Steven Universe goes for in this episode is really something that I'm surprised to see them do, and very impressed that they did, is that Amethyst and Steven sit down and they don't have a conversation that has a defined outcome. The defined outcome isn't make Steven feel better, or the defined outcome isn't, understand something or sort out something. It's just sort of like they left and I know obviously it's animated, but it's almost as if they left the camera on and just let Steven and Amethyst talk. There are some times when Amethyst says things that she doesn't even get a straight answer to, or Steven answers sort of in a way that trails off or just sort of brings it to another question. Very much like an actual conversation about something so serious. And while any other show would have a defined sort of map for how the conversation is to go, the sort of hills and valleys and just weird places that this conversation goes, of just honest, casual conversation, is very refreshing to see. Because as much as I love the show and analyze it and all that, there are definitely a lot of times where the conversations are exposition-filled sort of blabfests between two characters. And I do like that this episode just is honest. It's very wholesome. It's very raw when Amethyst and Steven are just sitting there talking, and they don't know what to talk about. They don't even know if they can put into words what they're feeling. And it's amazing. It's an amazing scene. It's probably one of the highlights of this entire special. As minute as it seems, if I was a kid and I was watching this, I'd hate it. It's boring. The people are just sitting and talking about boring plot stuff. Where's the big Hulk hands? But just something about this really just spoke to me, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading too into it. But I really enjoy the way that they just sit down and have a wholesome, raw, not emotional, but human conversation. I think it's cool. I think it's cool that they did that. And that speaks volumes for the rest of the episode as well. The episode definitely takes its time addressing the sort of problems that Amethyst and Steven are facing. They don't find Ruby in this episode until about the last 15 seconds or so. The entirety of the episode is devoted to a solo Steven and Amethyst, sort of episode where it's not goofy antics with the two silliest characters. Steven actually kind of shuts Amethyst down a few times because of how serious he thinks the entire situation is. But Amethyst, seeing how upset she is about all, seeing how upset Steven is about all these things that are literally out of his control. They happened thousands and thousands of years before he was even, this thing fell over, before he was even, a thought or, even conceived, is just a very interesting and, as Steven says, mature way to take the sort of storyline that they've been kind of showing. Because Steven has been having all this food piled on his plate that's made up of things that his mom did thousands and thousands of years ago before there was even a Steven to think about. And it definitely is heavy, and obviously none of us can put ourselves in those shoes, I hope. But it's definitely something that's very heavy for the character to take. And just having an episode where he just lulls and mellows and just reflects upon everything that's happening and takes a second, steps back and slows down with another character that takes things about as leisurely as he does, is not only refreshing, but just very interesting and, I wouldn't say risky, but ballsy for Steven Universe to do. I'm very impressed that they did it. There are just some great quiet scenes in this episode. There's a great scene where Steven and Amethyst kind of are sitting on the beach about, dusk time, or what, twilight, I guess, is before the sun goes down. Yeah, sunset time. Does that have a time name? Am I looking really stupid right now? Whatever. And it's just like, there's this shot of just like the waves come up on the beach, and any other show would just kind of like, get the waves on the beach, they go down, cut back to the characters to show that they're on the beach. But like, it's just something about like the waves come on the beach, they go back down, they come up again. I mean, it's slow, it shows the sky, it's gorgeous, it's gorgeous. If there's one thing that I can really say about this and the last episode, is they look stunning. When Rose is on Earth in the first episode, and Rose is taking in all the beauty of Earth, they really, really drive in that absolutely beautiful aesthetic that Steven Universe creates with the sort of pastel palettes, and the way that sometimes the borders of the trees or something like that don't exactly match the color of the trees. I think it looks beautiful. I absolutely love just the step back and breathe approach that they take to a lot of the scenery and moments in these episodes. And then we meet Ruby in what episode is this? The Question. So we meet Ruby in The Question, and she's been with Greg the entirety of this entire affair, and she's just been talking it over with Greg. And what it seems to be is that Ruby has reached the resolution that maybe she doesn't need Sapphire to be, happy, or she doesn't need Sapphire in her life at all. Instead, what she needs is just to try to be independent, try to live on her own, be a cowgirl if she cowboy, but cowgirl. Be a cowgirl if she wants. And as a matter of fact, that's what she does. Steven, and the crew take her out to the country area. Amethyst turns into a horse, and they pretty much play pretend for, a few hours that Ruby is a cowgirl. It really sort of instates her independence. It's definitely something that she really needed to sort of refresh herself after being with Sapphire for so long. And it's just sort of a me day, if you will, for Ruby, where she's a cowgirl, I guess. We've all had one. And it seems like everything's going fine. While at first Steven is a little upset that Ruby doesn't want to get back with Sapphire, when Steven realizes that this is what's best for Ruby and not what's best for, him, he kind of backs off and understands that Ruby might need some time to refresh. And everything's going fine until after a very nice song number by Ruby's voice actress, whose name escapes me because I don't know it. There's just this scene between Ruby and Steven when Ruby admits that she kind of wants to go back to Sapphire. She kind of misses Sapphire. The entire time that she was being a cowboy, she was just thinking about how much fun it would be if Sapphire was there. And just like famous world-class group Boys Don't Cry from the 1980s, she wants to be a cowboy, and you can be her cowgirl. Unquote. That is Time Warner, copyright 1985. Thank you very much. And it's just sort of this scene where she just admits that, yeah, she needs Sapphire. Steven, kind of abides. They head back to the beach house. And, ooh, what's this? LBGT Kablooza? It turns out that Ruby was given the idea by Steven to propose to Sapphire and get married to Sapphire so they can fuse again. And Sapphire says yes. Oh, she said yes. And, we'll get to this in a sec. Next episode comes, they're planning out the wedding, everything's fine and dandy, but Sapphire seems a bit upset that she doesn't have anybody to come to the party with her. Nobody that she really knew from Homeworld is going to be at the wedding. Everybody's dead. And Steven has the idea to take Bismuth out of her little bubble and, try to reintegrate her into the Crystal Gems, invite her to the party. At first, Bismuth is a little hesitant to this. Steven explains the entire situation. And she just kind of, some more stuff happens. You don't want me to go into detail about everything. But Steven and Bismuth have a talk towards the end of the episode where she really just, tells Steven that she doesn't know if she feels like there's a point to being in the Crystal Gems anymore. Their leader's gone. their leader lied to them. The entirety of the team of the Crystal Gems built on a lie. And Steven just says, well, that maybe they should just stay together because, I don't know, friendship, I guess, something like that, or protecting the Earth, or just, like, for fun. I don't exactly remember the reason why he said it. It's kind of unclear. Again, like with the Sapphire thing, kind of unclear. I think I missed that. But Bismuth agrees. She comes to the wedding. Everybody's happy. Yay, yay, yay. But there's no time for that because it's wedding day. That episode, by the way, was the Maid of Honor one, I'm pretty sure. Maid of Honor. Pretty middle-of-the-road episode. Not too much to say about it, except that it's nice to see Bismuth back. I love her voice actress. She sounds great. I love Bismuth's design, too. Bismuth is probably one of the coolest designed gems. I love the rainbow hair. Anyway, so then we get to the big thing that everybody's talking about. The reunited 22-minute half-hour special. And this is, the wedding between Sapphire and Ruby. It goes wonderfully. It's super adorable. Even my grumpy old, I don't like cartoon blogger even my heart was melted. It was very cute. It was very, very cutesy. They definitely play up the cutesiness of the whole thing. They do the vows. They're wearing nice dresses. Everybody's happy. Yeah. It melted my cold, cynical heart. And, of course, weddings can never go well. As it turns out, I'm sure this has all happened to you guys, married folks in the audience, let me know. Two giant space hands appear out of nowhere. And it's actually the ships of the Diamonds, blue and yellow, are coming to Earth to awaken the cluster. But it turns out that the cluster ain't got time for that because he turns into this giant Akira arm and just starts to arm wrestle with the yellow diamond ship, whereas the blue diamond ship disperses Blue Diamond onto the beach. They have a sort of this giant battle with everybody in the Crystal Gems, and Lapis comes back, which is nice. And I guess that Blue Diamond has this power where she can, make gems super depressed, ? Have they explained this before? Because, Blue Diamond just, did this thing, and, this just, wave of blue hit everybody, and then everyone just started crying. Is this just, depression powers? Is that a thing? I don't know. I didn't know that she had depression powers, but I guess she does. Anyway, something happens with Steven, and I don't know what it is, and I haven't seen the next episode yet, so the Legs to Homeworld episode yet, so maybe this is explained later, but Yellow Diamond is, her ship's kind of defeated by the cluster, and it seems like Blue Diamond and Yellow Diamond, are down for the count, but they get back up, they're fighting and everything. Yellow Diamond breaks Steven's shield, and he's knocked out, but when he's knocked out, he finds himself in this giant, omniscient space or an ominous space, not omniscient, where, all of the Crystal Gems are standing as, giant statues, but they themselves fighting in the real world are, standing on their heads. So it's I don't know. If Princess Bubblegum here is, Gruppeteer, there's, a giant Gruppeteer, and then, a little Gruppeteer who's, fighting on his head, and Steven's, has the ability to, go over to them fighting on top of the head and talk to them as if it's a spiritual thing. And at first I thought that Steven's gem got shattered or something because he's put in sort of this shattered land, but then I remember that he can't really shatter his gem. I think he'll die. I don't know if they've gone over that. I'm pretty sure he'll just die. And it's really weird. Honestly, I don't understand what they were going for with this. It's definitely very insightful, if you want to call it that. It's definitely very psychedelic. Maybe there's an extra layer of psychological, I don't know. There's a psychological layer that I just don't understand because I don't understand anything about psychology. Maybe they're going for some transcendentalist meditation thing here. I have absolutely no idea what is supposed to be happening. But I digress. Steven walks around, and he can hear the thoughts of everybody in this space that he's in now. And, everybody seems like they're going to give up the fight or whatever. But Steven gives them some inspirational messages by jumping through them, I guess. And everybody seems more motivated to fight. And then Steven gets to yellow and blue diamonds, giant head, things, and he can hear their thoughts, and they're talking about how sad they are or whatever. And Steven's trying to reach them so he can put his hand on their head and communicate to them, but their thoughts are too strong for Steven, so he's got to really fight through it. And he does. He connects with them, and he talks to them, and makes them calm down. And then he wakes up, and the diamonds are like, "Oh, Pink Diamond, it's you." And it seems like everything is resolved for now? Question mark. The episode kind of ends on a positive note of the diamonds and the gems smiling and looking and being like, "Pink Diamond," as if are the diamonds gonna become friends with the crystal gems? Because that'd be weird. I don't know if I'd like that. And that's the end of the special. So I think it's a great special. I really enjoy the Ruby and Sapphire arc. I love seeing Ruby and Sapphire as individual characters instead of as Garnet all the time. It's always nice to, it's always refreshing to see them. I like the wedding storyline, and now it's time for cynical Gruppeteer's a jerk talk, alright? So if you really liked the wedding, then I'll make it short and I'll say, I love the wedding too. It was super cute. And turn it off now if you don't want to hear me get all grumpy and cynical. So I liked the wedding. It was cute, but it was definitely a very pandering, a very fan servicey, if you will, event. I don't think that a wedding was the most effective way to get Garnet back together. You could have just had them fuse, or just meet up or something like that. I definitely think that first of all, I don't want to sound like that guy who wears Vineyard Vine shirts and walks around in a Walmart bathing suit with a red Solo cup in his hand when I say this, but I have nothing against gay people. I love gay people. Gay people are great, and gay people love me, but not in that way. I hope, please, anyone. But there's definitely a lot of pandering to the large demographic of LGBT plus people who watch Steven Universe in this wedding, scenario. I think that if Steven Universe and the crew were not so aware of their audience that are largely in the pride sort of culture, then they would just sort of treat this as, Ruby and Sapphire fuse. Boom. It's not really a big deal. But I do think that since we do have this, this large audience this large queer audience that watch the show, then there's definitely a lot more pandering with the whole wedding thing. Do I think the wedding's cute and beautiful and I love it? Of course, it's great. It's super cute. It's like My Little Pony meets Littlest Pet Shop and George Harrison's there. It's the cutest thing in the world. But I couldn't just shake the feeling the entire time that this was just really, real fan service. Really fan servicey. Ruby and Sapphire are dressed up in dresses, and they got this, this nice little coat, and everybody's dressed up in suits, and they're doing vows, and they're talking about how much you love each other, and they kiss each other on the mouth, which I think is the first time they've done that, in the show, I think. I don't know. And of course, these are all great things, and they make great strides towards integrating, gay culture as part of just culture in general. It does a great job at introducing these things to kids in a safe and, non-explicit way. But it's just, there's a lot of fan service in this. This is definitely an episode made for the fans. And don't get me wrong, surprise, surprise, I am a fan. However, I really, really just felt like they were catering to a lot of the LGBT community and the fans of the show in this episode. It doesn't make it bad, but it was definitely, it kind of felt childish at times when they were just really, really pandering, really just giving the fans whatever they want. And Gruppeteer, you're complaining that a show that you like is rewarding its fans for being so loyal. Whatever. Look, if let's say if Wes Anderson came out with a movie where just every single frame was a completely symmetrical orange stop motion film for 90 minutes. If it was me standing right here everything was Wes Anderson made, everything was symmetrical for 90 minutes. Yeah, it sure would be catering to what the fans want, but that doesn't mean that it's amazing. That doesn't mean that's what it is what is good. I can't shake the feeling that the entire wedding idea was just, the crew was like, we love the gay community. We love how much they love our show. Let's reward them. And it really felt just like fan service. It honestly, you know what? It felt like a fan fiction. It felt like somebody wrote this about Ruby and Sapphire, yet instead of, living in Burbank and working at the Cartoon Network studios, they instead live in Wisconsin and live in their parents' basement and color their hair bright red because it's the color of Ruby. And they also spell Ruby R-W-B-Y, no matter what it is. Boom, hit that Ruby fan base. I don't dislike it. I really don't want anybody to misconstrue my message as I dislike it, or I dislike it because it's, for gay people. I just dislike it because it really seems like it's catered to the fans in a way that I don't like, I guess. Maybe I have to be gay to really, really enjoy it. Maybe that's what I'm missing. Maybe I should try to be gay. I don't know. I've never tried being gay. I'll take requests in the comments if I should. But besides that, please don't request that in the comments. Besides that, I really did enjoy this entire special. I enjoyed the Ruby and Sapphire arc, like I said. I think that it was very well animated. I loved the animation on the arms when they were coming to Earth, and they definitely spent a lot of money on that. There's also a very, very impressive shot of Steven jumping from the house and onto the beach when he's singing about the wedding day, and they do a full 360-degree tracking shot of his body falling down, and it's completely in proportion, and it looks stunning the entire time. For those who don't work in animation or don't understand what I'm talking about, that's very difficult to do, especially in a TV budget 2D animated show. It's a very impressive shot that they pull off, and I was very impressed to see it. It looked really good. I loved it. More importantly, it stayed in proportion the entire time and flowed very, very smoothly. And I was like, yes, that looks awesome. Oh, I love animation. But yeah, besides that, in general, this might be one of my favorite. It still doesn't beat the Sardonyx arc, but this still might be one of my favorite Stephen Bombs we've had so far. I thought it was a lot of fun. While it did cater to the fans, I am in the end a fan, and I did enjoy a lot of it. So, yeah. On to the next episode. What'd you guys think of this episode? Let me know in the comments. Please don't let me know if I should try being homosexual. And I'll see you guys later. Goodbye. Chicka chicka.